If you're looking to stream on a Mac in 2024, then this video here is for you. I've been streaming on a Mac for about a year, and I've learned a lot along the way. I've been wanting to make this video for a long time because I don't see a lot of Macs in the gaming space, and that's for obvious reasons. They're not gaming machines, generally speaking. That being said, though, with the Apple Silicon Macs that have just come out, these Macs are extraordinarily powerful. Elgato has 2 capture cards that are compatible with Apple Silicon machines. AverMedia also put out a capture card for the Apple Silicon Macs as well. So there is a lot to look forward to with these powerful machines. So let's go ahead and get started. One of the first things that we're going to want to do, go to obsproject.com. This is where you can download OBS. Of course, you can also use Streamlabs, which is another very, very good streaming platform that's built on the same kernel that OBS is. And then, of course, I've been using a lot of Meld, and if you want to go to Stream with Meld, this is actually built from the ground up on Mac, so it's not some sort of layered thing. They build this for Mac. It's a new streaming application, and it's a really fun team to work with. So any of these 3 would be great. For today's example, though, I'm going to go ahead and use OBS. So OBS here, this is just looking at a blank canvas here. Typically when you start on OBS, an auto configuration wizard will pop up asking you a few questions like, do you want to optimize for streaming or recording? For our case and purposes here, we're just going to go ahead and set this up for streaming. The base canvas you'll want to set to 1920 by 1080. Also set your FPS to 60. Log into your Twitch here and go ahead and get started by clicking next. This is just going to give you an idea of what OBS will be able to deliver with your hardware. We can go ahead and apply these settings, but we can reconfigure them later in our settings menu, but we'll worry about that in just a second. The next step we're likely going to want to do here is go ahead and add in our capture card. So my capture card is connected via a Godspin cable, which is a USB-C, USB-C right into my Macintosh. We'll go ahead and call this HD60X since I'm using the HD60X capture card from Elgato. Selecting our device here, we'll drop down to the Game Capture HD. In my case, because I am streaming from a PC, I'm only going to capture at 1920 by 1080 because this is what I'm going to be streaming at, and I just believe that the best way to get the most out of your device is just by keeping things as consistent as possible. We can't change the frame rate here to 60 or 120 because we need to select the input format. On some versions, I've seen this set to auto. In my case, I have to select one or the other. The only difference between these 2 is that 422 is going to net you better color accuracy, but it will limit us to 60 FPS, which is totally fine. If we select 420, there's additional bandwidth that we can go up to 120 FPS with the HD60X, but because I'm only streaming at 60, I'd rather have the better colors than the higher frame rate. So I'm going to select 422, which is the YUY2. This will then allow us to select our FPS and our gameplay will come up. Now this is coming from my PC. We'll go ahead and select OK. And now, at this point, we need to add in our audio. So again, we'll go back into our plus button to select our sources, select audio input capture. I'm just going to call this PC audio. So typically speaking, we would hit the Game Capture HD60X, and this would bring the audio in from our capture card. Over here, we can see that the PC audio is showing up, which is what we want. Again, this is the audio coming from my particular PC. Final thing that we're going to need to do here, just for the most basic setup, again, is adding in another input capture. We'll go ahead and use my mic. And here's where we're going to select the device for capturing your individual audio. If you have another USB microphone like a Yeti or some sort of Scarlett, you'll want to select your microphone in this drop-down menu here. In my case, I'm going to go ahead and select Mic Bridgecast and hit OK. Now you can see that my audio is getting captured and my PC audio is also being captured. Now, the last thing that we want to adjust before we really go live is jump into our preferences here. One of the first places we want to start at is under the video section base canvas. So looking at our base canvas here and our output canvas. So this is the canvas that we are working from, you know, where we're putting all of the information onto. And the output canvas is what we're sending out to Twitch. I'm leaving it a 1920 by 1080. Again, I think that the consistency of what we're capturing at and what we end up streaming at is always going to be better because there's no sort of scaling or sharpening that we need to do in the process of doing that. So here, all I'm going to do is change this to a 1920 by 1080. You could also go down to 720p, which does take into account some downscale filtering. This is going to be the best downscaling filter for you. So 1920 by 1080, this is going to net me the best quality, 60 FPS. We'll go ahead and hit apply here. So the output, we want to change the output mode from simple to advanced. Advanced is going to allow us to really dial in our settings for streaming, recording, and our audio. So starting at the stream settings here, setting our video encoder. Most people are going to recommend the hardware encoder, and this is going to be great on resources. But I have found that in high motion scenes, I just don't get the quality that I'm looking for. For whatever reason, in high motion scenes, the hardware encoder is not able to capture everything. Things look mushy. So I personally recommend using the X264 encoder, and it's been around for a long time. Down here in our encoder settings with the rate control, we'll leave this at CBR. This stands for constant bit rate, and it just is always going to send out at whatever the bit rate that we set. Now, before we can really set this bit rate, we're going to want to go to speedtest.net to see what our upload speeds are. What we really want to focus on here is specifically the upload speeds. So this is a 22 megabits per second upload speed. Personally, I don't recommend going over half of this value, so about 11,000, maybe 12 and a half. But I don't recommend going over half of this, and that just allows the additional bandwidth and gap if we see some spikes in our bitrate. So coming back to OBS here, the recommended bitrate for Twitch is going to be 6,000, and for most people, this is what I would recommend staying at. I don't recommend going up higher than this, especially if you're just starting out. If you're, say, in the affiliate status, you can stream over 6,000, and in fact, you can stream up as high as 8,000. This is what I normally have my bitrate set to. For the final part of the encoder settings here, keyframe interval set to 2, CPU usage preset set to medium. Medium is going to be the best for most people, and at medium, you're going to be using about 30 to 35% of your CPU usage. Set your profile to high. Tune, I just leave it none, and go ahead and hit apply. Jumping over into the recording here, again, looking at the video encoder, I recommend using HEVC hardware encoder. And the reason I recommend using the hardware encoder here versus on the streaming is that when you get over a 10,000 bit rate, that's where I find that these hardware encoders work really, really well. I recommend using the HEVC. You can use the H.264 hardware encoder as well, or you could use the ProRes. If you choose to switch over to using MPEG, you do have the AOM AV1 encoder. However, it's not compatible with all softwares, but use your best judgment. Jumping down to the encoder settings here, again, we're going to leave this at constant bitrate. The bitrate I have set to is 15,000, so anything over 10,000 is going to be really, really good. Keyframe interval, we'll leave this at 2 seconds. Again, and then the profile, main 10, you can do main 42210 if you prefer to. This is just really going to affect your file size. This is at least 10-bit. And then this is the, again, an increase in quality there. And at this point, we'll go ahead and hit apply. So at this point, we have everything that we need to start streaming. We have our mic in our sources. We have our audio from our either PlayStation 5, Xbox, or PC. And then we have our capture card in there. If you end up having any issues, please leave a comment down below, just right down here. If you are enjoying this content and you want to see more of it, I'm always live on Twitch at www.twitch.tv/tacosmcnuge. Take care. Have a good one. Hope to see you guys soon in chat.